Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rational Investors recap of our daily brief episode. A little bit chaotic right now. I think I was putting tweets out this morning right in the middle of a big move. So my home is a little bit chaotic. And actually, I was just looking for my headset to do this video. And I couldn't find it. So we'll try our best here to give you a nice 10-15 minute overview of the markets. But please understand, Brian's a little bit stressed right at the moment, but here we go. The conversation about the US dollar index really hasn't changed a heck of a lot here over the past few days. We are continuing to coil. We have our big fundamental event coming up here the end of July, and you can literally see the whole market is getting ready for that event. It's not a heck of a lot to add to the equation. We did gap higher, and we actually M'd out there, I guess, last Thursday. So I still think this is a coil. I really don't think it's a good idea to make any big bets in currency land until we're on the other side of that fundamental event. Mr. Bear is convinced that we're going to get a quarter point cut. I think he's probably right. The market is basically anticipating that quarter point cut. I still, call me old-fashioned, a dinosaur. Stock market's at or near all-time highs. I don't see any econs that are like train wreck kind of conversation. Yield curve is not inverted. So I don't know. It's tough for me to make the argument that we need a rate cut. I hate to say it. I think it's more political than anything else, which really bothers me. But what can you do? So we will see. That will basically be in about a week's time when that Fed announcement comes. And I wouldn't even be surprised moving on to sort of the stock market. It almost looks to me like we're carving out a bit of a head and shoulders here. I think I showed you this last week on kind of like a lower time frame basis, but you can really see the sort of fractally nature of the market action here. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Fed does not cut rates, then this head and shoulders fractal confirms. You can see where 38.2 is. That's going to be a test of those lows. 50% is going to be a test of these lows. And then really, I would actually argue that if we wanted to be buyers of stocks, this is the window we really want to look in, that reload zone concept. And interestingly enough, there's also a cheeky little gap right down at the bottom end of our range that we do have to be cognizant it's still sitting there. End of July, beginning of August, this isn't really normally like seasonally when the market breaks down. So my knee-jerk reaction is actually there's going to be one more push higher, but it is interesting to see that based off of extensions, we did actually rally up to 127 and then rolled over. Actually, maybe we even stopped a little bit short of that. Algos off the lower time frames, 4 hours, they love this little fractal up top here, and they were very happy with this dump. We had actually the market just come right off on Friday and finish basically on its knees. Was that a function of options expiry? Tough to say. We did notice last week there were a lot of calls that were written up top here. And the puts, of course, they had hit a massive home run, just, making sure the market went out up top here. So looks like a bit of position squaring, and yes, the market opened up relatively weak this morning, but it looks like it's catching a bit of a bid here. And of course, if this is a fractal, you can see that's almost equal distance. We should see a period of up here, and that's probably into that Fed announcement, which would sort of correspond with a move, something along those lines. So we'll see how it goes. Not ready to call the stock market dead yet. And like I said, seasonally, this isn't really the time of year when stocks really should break in earnest, but we'll see how it goes. Obviously, a lot of excitement in the metals markets. I'm a little concerned that we're getting a lot of excitement in the metals markets while the US dollar index is just coiling here, not really doing a lot. A little bit dangerous too here. I know a lot of people have become extremely bullish of gold and silver of late. I've been looking at these markets as trades. And then, of course, I was tweeting out over the end of last week about little VCIM metal names all starting to perk to life. And we saw like gold stock indexes all waking up and stuff. I actually looked at this silver chart this morning, and this looks a little bothersome. This is a classic AB equals CD harmonic. And actually, we would call this an alt AB equals CD, where the, A to B, C to D, where the C to D leg actually takes us up into 127s. It's very normal. It's very natural. Of course, Brian trading his bot would be taking profits right up in here. And you see that probably a lot of pros were taking profits up here too. Be careful here, everybody. This thing looks like Swiss cheese the whole way up. Now, having said that, the Fed announcement's still another week away. Could they take it a bit higher? Sure. If I wanted to be a serious investor in silver, of course, Brian and his good old reload zones, I would be concentrating down in this area, and that would mean that all of these gaps get filled in and the chart just sort of cleans itself up. Only time will tell, as they say. In fact, actually, there's even a gap down here. But long and short of it here is I can't be a buyer here. At best, I got to let this consolidate, set up maybe a bot setup, something like that. But right now, I've got nothing. I'd just be sitting on my hands. Heading on over to crypto. We've been tweeting out a lot recently, at least I have, this whole idea that we've got a 38.2 battle underway here. Who's going to win this war? Impossible to say right now. We just simply have to follow price action. It was interesting that we did have a couple sort of fundamental drivers going on. First off, obviously the backed exchange product, they're going into their sort of testing phase now. So, you might have had a little bit of sort of buy the rumor, sell the news kind of situation there. As well, one of this longtime site members and I were chatting over the weekend, and he sees a really big correlation between what's going on in Hong Kong and China and Bitcoin price. And then also, too, we had a little bit of a mini bombshell drop this morning in that the Indian government has come out and proposed banning all cryptocurrencies from their populace. Frankly speaking, I can completely understand that the grown-ups are sort of waking up now to this crypto threat. I do understand that the Americans do see the potential for growth with this concept of cryptocurrencies, in that they can make things like banking and insurance and contract settlement much, much more efficient, which of course will drive corporate profits, which will theoretically drive growth. So I do understand from a growth perspective that, and they continue, the U.S. government continually says we don't want to stifle innovation and all that kind of talk. I can completely understand it. But, this whole sort of talk about Facebook coin and, the potential for the central bankers to lose control of monetary policy and stuff like that, I can understand that that's a big concern as well. As well, too, we did hear about things like Iran and Russia and China are thinking about colluding together to create cryptocurrencies that are backed by gold, and basically leaving that American SWIFT banking conglomerate situation that sort of dominates our sort of world following the Cold War. So any way you shake it, still think there's a huge, huge battle in off this 38.2, and whoever won this war, I think, dictates trade going forward. It felt like over the weekend that, hey, the bulls were winning, and then the bulls just crapped out. And I put out tweets to the effect that, hey, if you were trading long setups on this breakout, that this fractal here sort of stopped everything in its tracks. And sure enough, we actually made lower lows this morning. This, in a weird sort of way, has actually created now a little head and shoulders here. And if this thing gets any sort of traction, you can see what it really implies is that we probably need to go down and eat that tail down in there. If we look at things like Ethereum, we see a similar situation. Interestingly enough, on Ethereum here, we weren't even able to get back to 38.2 of this range, let alone a 38.2 of the entire recent range, not even close. So no doubt about it, something like an Ethereum is much, much weaker. And really this sort of speaks to the whole sort of, intermediate tier of crypto. The rally of late has clearly been about Bitcoin. And, I would argue that actually the whole rally was nothing more than just a function of the Litecoin halvening, but that's another conversation. Maybe we'll have another day. The point of the matter here is you can see that this head and shoulders, while cockeyed, and I don't really like cockeyed heads and shoulders, is I would much prefer this be nice and symmetrical. But the cockeyed signal did fire this morning, and I know a lot of people on TRI played this cute little head and shoulders in here and got short off of this fractal fail. And we woke up this morning and it was great to see lots of guys in the lounge posting, hey, just banged out a nice win overnight. I'm feeling pretty good about my trading. Thank you, Brian, for teaching me how to do this stuff. And I love that because in essence, that just validates the whole reason why I do this whole website. I'm not here to go and make $1 million from trading, although, my trading, I feel pretty good about what I do. What I'm really here to do is try and help the community, them go and make a whole bunch of money from trading. And I see that on a daily basis. It just warms my heart. The people who really focus, learn this whole concept of setups, appropriate risk management, and then you just go in there and do your craft. So long and short of it here, looking a little bit waffly on the Ethereum. If we lose this 38.2 going the other direction, kind of the same as the debate with Bitcoin right now, probably pretty good odds we have to head back down to this big fat round number 200 bananas on Ethereum. All right, so to finish off today, kind of a fun conversation we were having in the TRI lounge this weekend. The big luncheon with Warren Buffett and all the kids is supposed to be coming up here pretty soon. And people were asking if there was any way to sort of trade this Tron, Justin Sun's story. I don't really like a trade in here, to be honest with you. We're sort of almost exactly midpoint between the highs and the lows here. To me, this is almost like a coin toss. What I'm a little worried about here too is that we're actually in a reload short zone. Remember that Ethereum conversation where it's not really working off of the higher time frame fibs. It's actually working off the lower time frame fibs. We actually came into a mountain man level there just off of this range, and she was rejected hard here. But at the same time too, traders got to trade. So, what my suggestion to the community is, if this, and also too, this is a V bottom, that was a new low. At some point, that's going to have to be tested. But, if this thing does carve out a nice flagpole, this is basically a flagpole. Hopefully everybody can see that. Whoops, let's try that again. And I'm wasting time. But, here is the flagpole. Right, here is the flag. If we break out, and hopefully you see the BOD levels and all that kind of stuff, if we break out, we should probably replicate the size of the flagpole up top here. So, my simple rule is I want to see 3 higher lows. We've got a cute little trend line now to work with. Notice how the market dead cat bounced right into that 25 level. So what this says to me is, if we can just sort of calm down here and just put in a nice range and break out 3 higher lows, then, hey, I think we got a trade to work with. So, there's something for you to chew on here today. I always like to give you guys a trade idea or two to think about. The one that we're sort of kicking around in the lounge is does Mr. Sun's coin bought out here into that Warren Buffett event? All right, why don't we leave it at that for today? I hope you all enjoyed the offering. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.